I keep saying mental health is still treated like a stepchild.
Yes.
Actually, when you think that they have it all, they have nothing. There's emptiness that mental illness creates in your heart. You feel worthless. Yesterday was just your birthday. You're saying you feel worthless. Please leave your relatives. They will be the most toxic. They will be the most judgmental people. You're going to tell the ones who will go around telling everyone about you. So people will tell me, but DK, it's you who is always helping all of us. So you can't break down. So now who will be there for us? You know? So people need to know that depression has no class.
Yeah.
Mental illness, actually, even on all mental
Altogether,
illnesses,
yeah.
they have no social class. This woman, whether you are anyone who carries a brain, will be sick.
Hi guys, my name is Sissy. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Sissy. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. I am a psychiatrist, so that means I am a medical doctor who specializes in mental health and mental problems, and I'm based in the UK. And today I'm very excited to have here DK Dorin Kansiime, and she is a mental health advocate and expert by experience. Thanks for coming, DK.
Thank you for having me, Sissy.
So I wanted DK to come and share here. She's shared on her platforms on her Instagram. I hope you follow her. If you don't, go check her out. She is also, besides on this channel, she's here as a mental health expert by experience, but also she is an etiquette coach. She is a mom. She is a wife. She is a sister. She is everything. She's a businesswoman. What are you not, DK?
Everything.
She's everything, everything. And I just wanted her to share her experience just to help raise awareness, I think, about mental health problems, the various ways that we struggle, because I know a lot of people are going to relate with your story. And do let us know in the comments below if you have any questions for us. And yeah, to start off, I feel like I've introduced you. I thought you would start by introducing yourself, but I've done it. So maybe you can tell us what I've missed out or what else you want to add.
Hi, Dr. Sissy. Thank you for having me and for adding a voice all the time to mental health awareness and all sorts of support. I feel like you've introduced me as it is. I am a mother, most importantly. I think that's the most important title that I hold. Then the other thing is the things that I'm passionate about, mental health, kitchen, dining, and etiquette. Basically, that's it. But I'm taking mental health stories, awareness, associations. I'm taking them very personal. That's top most of my interests now.
Okay. So how did you first come into contact with mental health in general? Like all your life, were you always into mental health, or was there a certain point where now you became interested in it?
So growing up, and again, now that I'm a bit an adult, sometimes I sit and be like, maybe someone in my family could also be bipolar, because I remember the doctor asking me and saying there must be someone in your home who has the same things. And sometimes I do it and be like, I think so and so is like this. But I remember growing up, mother used to tell us that everyone, she used to have like a funny saying. She says everyone has like a big cane on their shoulder that is ever beating them, and everyone has their own variation. So I grew up with an understanding that everyone in this world has struggles. But I didn't, of course, understand the intensity of those struggles. I'm a first child, so I'm a high achiever, so I was a bit conflicted because I don't believe in failing, I don't believe in breaking down, I don't believe in putting your guard down. So whereas I had an appreciation of that people struggle, I always had the thing of you can beat it up, you can get up, you can still face it and move on. So I must say, whereas I had some understanding, probably it was limited.
Yeah. I love what your mom said. I feel like, yeah, everyone has mental health problems. No, sorry, not mental health problems. Everyone has some struggles. And my dad in his video, if you haven't watched a video with my dad, you can check it up on my channel. he was talking about how if all of us would put our problems in a pile and everyone sees everyone else's problem, you'd be very quick to grab yours and take them
Pick
back.
it out, eh?
Yes. Um, so also another thing is about the family history of how the
Mm.
doctors were saying you must have family history of the particular mental health challenge you had. My question is, did you have a known family history of any mental health problem? You
Yes,
you
we
did.
do.
You do.
I have an auntie
Mm,
whom they clearly said, and you know how they term it, how they used to term it back then, and even now, which really annoys me of, she lost her wires.
mm,
I mean, now when I sat and really, really, really assessed,
mm,
I was like, there's something. I have an
mm.
auntie who had mental struggles,
Yeah.
though undiagnosed,
Yes.
but I knew that she even had a baby and she didn't like her baby.
Mm,
And there are all sorts of these things of, she's mad, she doesn't like her baby because her wires don't add up. You know,
mm.
that whole thing of how
Yeah.
people describe mental illness
Yeah.
and all that. I also had an auntie that I know for sure had very terrible moods.
Mm.
1 minute you're her best person, the next minute she's throwing you under the bus. I sadly she passed on,
Oh. Mm,
but I really, really think something was not okay with. She
mm,
had the most unstable moods that I've ever
mm, mm.
experienced.
So I think everyone has a family history of mental illness.
Mm.
In my opinion, every single person, whether we know it or we don't. It's just that
Mm.
a lot of, I think in our setting, a lot of things are undiagnosed. So when you're talking about your auntie whose moods were so bad, I remembered a tale I have had of one of my great grandmothers. I never even got to meet her, but I think she
Mm.
was called Batiza or something.
Mm.
And apparently in the village that they knew her, she would get annoyed. And she could like maybe throw things and want to harm you. Which when my
Mm.
dad was telling me, it sounded like that's not okay. That doesn't sound like okay. And I also
Mm.
remembered another grandmother who sounded like she had dementia.
Mm.
She had dementia. And I think because now me, I'm a psychiatrist, I have a name for these things or another name. Because usually in our culture, they just say that person ran mad. But
Exactly. They bundle up everyone and be like, Ognomshazi. And that's how they used to call my auntie, actually. They used to be
oh.
like, "Tumukumura kwa kutambura," even though she'd walk. They'd be like, "Tumukumura kwa kutambura, no mshazi.
Oh.
No mshazi."
Ah,
The labels, the
yeah,
descriptions.
yeah. And actually, I've remembered another reason I think I went into psychiatry is because I have a cousin who got psychosis. She got schizophrenia. She has schizophrenia actually. But when
Mm.
she was 16 years
Mm.
old. So I was still in medical school. And I was like,
Mm.
what? Like she's hearing voices. She could hear voices
Mm.
and they were saying negative things about her, which is the commonest schizophrenia anyway. It's paranoid
Mm.
schizophrenia. You think people are out to get you. You think,
Mm.
but then she was actually hearing voices, and at that
Mm.
time, initially she thought it was her friend, so she started isolating herself. But actually, with time,
Mm.
she realized these are not real, so she could still tell that difference that this is not real
Mm.
and this is real. And I
Mm.
was in med school, and at the time, we had done psychiatry, and they were telling us how different mental health things increase your risk based on family history. So if it's schizophrenia, like if you have
Mm.
maybe the general population has like 1% chance. If
Mm.
you have a first cousin, then your chance increases to like 9%. If
Mm.
like that. So I was like, oh my gosh, this can happen to me. I can just start hearing voices because my risk is higher. And then I was like, if it happened to me, I would want someone to take care of me. So that's one of the
Mm.
reasons why I went into psychiatry. So anyway, I think we have digressed, but the point was to show that I think everyone has a family history of mental
And
health
history.
problems, and if in your family you feel no one has it, then I think it's like how we all have physical health problems and you have family history of
Mm.
physical health problem. I think it's the same to me anyway. It's also
Mm.
another part of our body, which is our brain. So what about your own personal history of mental health struggles? When did those start? And yeah, when did they start? And when did you realize that you needed to seek help?
I realized that I need to seek help 2 years ago. Okay, but before I would tell that really something is not okay.
Mm.
You can't tell me that me, the person who is considered the happiest, the next minute I want to cut off the entire world. I want to hide from the entire world. I am like the difference is day and light. But I would brush it off. Then of course now you become a mother and you're like, it's just postpartum. You're crying, you're wailing, you are moody, you have all kinds of outbursts, you have all sorts of things. Then you're like, then you get busy, then you have a second child, then you have a third child. You're in that cycle literally. But then 2 years ago, actually, my trigger to seek attention was
Yeah.
from a friend. It
Mm.
was not even from me. A friend of mine kept saying that there's something I have noticed whenever we are even in conversations, you just zone out. And I'm like, what do you mean? You guys, I'm the one who brings life to this meeting. I'm the one who brings life to this group. It's like, yes, when you are here, you are here. Then small things would irritate me. Like, for example, just going to pick something and it's not ready, like in 1 minute. I'd be like, this is the end of the world. You can't tell me that there's an option, it's not going to work. And
Mm.
like, if you say you're bringing for me a black thing, it has to be black. If it turns out to be like gray, then for me, that's the end of the world. Transition is hard for you to tell me that. So, a friend of mine kept saying, I think you need help. I think you need help. Something is not right. But
Mm.
at that point, I wasn't sleeping at all. I wasn't sleeping at all. And what I did, and I think that's what they call high functioning depression,
Mm.
I worked day and night. I would be working at 2 a.m.
Mm.
My productivity level was at the highest.
Mm.
I took pride in working. I worked that hard. Then I also went into like non avoidance. I'll be like, no, I will deal with this later. It's okay. I don't want anything to come between me and my work. I was the most efficient at work. There's an email that comes in, whether it's 2 a.m., I am responding.
Mm.
And immediately at 5 a.m., I am awake. I've gone to now take kids to school and start a new work day. I was not sleeping.
Mm.
And then where it got worse, it was these outbursts, even just us talking, like, oh, we are talking.
Yeah.
And you just say, but why are you looking like this? That would be the end of the conversation.
Mm.
This friend of mine saying, no, this something is not right. I
Mm.
think you need to seek help. She was actually recovering. And I think that's why they say that when you've been in a place, you can notice someone. So
Yeah.
she was recovering and she says, you exactly like how I was.
Mm.
And I had all this obsession. I had bad eating habits. I had every bad thing. The only thing is that I just wasn't drinking alcohol or
Mm.
doing drugs because generally I've grown up fearing those two.
Mm.
So I'm like, okay, let me go and speak to the doctor about it. At that point, my brother had started school, had left. My sister had gotten a new job, had left. So I felt alone because all I have known is my siblings. So just felt like I was alone. Transition was so hard.
Mm.
Letting them go was so hard. I just felt like so many things were going wrong at that time. So I got to see the doctor and I enter and she just asks me, what brings you here? I break down, I just wail.
Mm.
And she's like, something is not right. Then she had us. I actually think that I don't know if it's the association. I think those things they were asking me, I wasn't even, I don't recall. I
Mm.
remember her saying, by the scores, you are severely depressed.
Mm.
So I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, I thought depressed is just being sad, then tomorrow I will be okay.
Mm.
But what was very key, I couldn't sleep at all. Zero. And
Yeah.
what I did in not sleeping, I also, I don't know how you term it medically, I ran away to other things. So I would watch TikTok, like for example, I'd watch TikTok the whole night. You'd find me like on Instagram posting at 2 a.m. I'm like, people are sleeping. What are they doing at this time? Why are people sleeping? I'd be on TikTok, watch TikTok. I'll be like, hey, me, I'll watch TikTok until 3 a.m. Then the next day, I would be so irritable because I'm sleepy.
Yeah.
Like, don't pass in front of me because I'll end up slapping you. I'm just irritable from the sleep. I had moments where I'll just park. I reach work, I get into the basement, I park, I first doze like in the car for 1 hour. I am so irritable. Everything is just annoying me.
Yeah.
So that was my journey. And then she says, you are severely depressed. I'm going to put you on an antidepressant.
Yeah.
But first, I'm going to give you something to help you with your sleep.
Yeah.
That was my journey. I never looked back. That was 2 weeks. I was supposed to go back 2 weeks for review.
Yeah.
When I went, she looked at me, and I think the things I was telling her, she said, you are worse than you left. I don't think I can let you go back home. That was it. I had come for review. I never went back home. I went back after 21 days.
And then you are admitted.
Yes, I think what I remember is that I I had zoned out and I had so much like intrusive thoughts. So I think I was just telling her uncoordinated things of,
Yeah.
do you know anything that can make me sleep like for 3 weeks? So I remember that was the first thing I would ask anyone. So I tell her I have read, and at that point I was taking clonazepam. I was like, do you think if I take like a whole tin, it can make me sleep? Because you said it's a sleeping drug. Do you think it can make me sleep? Then I can wake up like after 2 months. I think she just said, this one you can't go back.
Do you think they took it to think that maybe you are having suicide thoughts, or?
Not that they thought I was. Because what is living? It's just that we're trying to modernize it. What is sleeping for 3 months and coming back? It's suicidal thought. Because I ended up on antipsychotics. I was suicidal. But my only difference, maybe I was a modern suicidal person. I used to say,
How?
I used to ask the doctors, isn't there an easier way? Because, and I think the doctor one time said, this is the reason we kept you in hospital. Because the things you would tell us would be so, because I used to tell them, I have read, if I overtake this medicine, it might not make me die. I might end up in HDU. I might just black out and end up in HDU, and that will have no impact. Then I'll tell them the other thing that I have Googled will be like self-harm. But I said self-harm is a bit painful. Telling them, um, I think if I just throw myself in Lake Victoria, for example, I was like, what if I float? What if they get me out? Then they beat me and be like, you wanted to kill yourself, but you've not died. Now we're going to beat you. So I used to ask them, is there like a drug medically that someone can take? Or I even reached the point of telling them that state where they say that someone is on life support. I said there's no way it can happen. Like I'm just there. I want to be looking like this. But there's nothing. I'm not under any responsibility. I am not thinking. I think they said these things are not coordinated at all.
Yeah.
So I stayed in hospital for 21 days. That was my turning point.
Yeah. That sounds so difficult. So I guess like the suicide thoughts, sometimes people have thoughts that are like passive, which is where you wish you are not here. Like it's all too much, but you're not going to do anything about it. But now it sounds like you are becoming active, where you're even now making plans and getting
Yes,
researching
I'd make the
options.
plans. Just the difference is I hadn't reached the plan that seems easy. And that was the one I was trying to understand. Because when I would read on these drugs, I'd understand that they might not kill me, but they'll just damage like my kidneys. But can I tell you, this year I visited Victoria Falls. I had made progress, I mean. But
Mm,
I remember texting a family member who is very close, and I said, if I ever get back to that place,
mm,
I think I know the place where I can come and take my life. It's here. The
mm,
falls are so rapid. If I fall, it's an easy way. No one will come down the falls to look for me.
mm,
So you see, those thoughts
mm,
were still lingering around.
yeah.
But I remember saying, no, I can't just drive my car into like an edge.
Mm,
I will either end up hurting my head and just living there.
mm,
So I wanted, like, where they say that, like those policies where they say that someone has chosen to be removed on life support.
mm.
How do they call it? Of we should be allowed to determine our death.
Euthanasia.
Yeah, actually, one of the biggest arguments with my psychiatrist up to now is that we should be allowed to determine our death.
Mm.
I should be allowed that this month I'm not participating in life.
But auntie, the issue is death is so permanent. That's a problem. You can't.
Yeah, and so you tell me there's no way that you're going to die temporarily. And you tell me there's no way you're going to and you wake up in December. So I want you to know
Mm,
that you have to go through January, Feb,
mm,
and I say him, I can't.
mm,
So that was for me each day I woke up with how more research can I do? Then I
mm,
also learned that the nerves that in the body where they say that like here you can press here and then you just faint. Then I would imagine all these things, then I'll be like, I think I just want to sleep. Then in the morning, people wake up and they're like, oh, she's not waking up. And
mm,
then the next thing I'm like, but then at the same time, I want to be around.
yeah.
This that's how a sick mind works.
It sounds like maybe you just wanted to switch off the pain. Just switch off the pain. Just
Yes, but you can never switch off the pain. You have to go through it.
you have to go through it. Yeah. So a lot of things people do are distracting themselves from feeling their feelings now, like maybe social media scrolling
Mm,
endlessly, people who drink a lot sometimes.
mm,
It's some sort of trying to
mm,
self-medicate to try and switch off the pain. But most of the time, the pain is still
mm,
there, which is why they keep increasing whatever they're doing. So,
mm,
what was your experience like being
mm.
admitted then in a hospital, inpatient?
Oh my God. It was the most humbling experience. No, before humbling, it was shame.
Mm,
And that's why, for me, as of today, I decided to talk about
mm,
mental health, my own journey, because I can tell you, even as of today, I still experience the same things about shame. But the only difference is that I owned my story. So if you
mm,
are telling it your own version, that's on you. So my first experience being in there was shame of, again, it goes back to the stigma
mm,
of, first of all, you're in a unit alone. Where I was, the AP unit, acute psychiatric unit, is
yeah.
alone. So
Mm,
if you come in the hospital, you know that these people who are wearing this color, they belong to APU. I
mm,
first refused the color. I said, let them go and look for dresses for me in the X-ray site. So for me, the first weeks when I was there, it was shame. I
yeah.
didn't want anyone who knows me to meet me.
Mm,
Later, as I got in, settled, it was humbling of the world has been moving on without me. The world hasn't stopped because I am the chaser of this world. We used to have a joke, which I no longer think it's a joke, that in the plane I don't sleep because I'm the air that is holding it.
mm,
Now that I learned that that was anxiety.
mm,
They used to say that I'm the rain, the thunder, the everything combined at the same time. I realized that the world actually was moving on without me.
mm,
I realized that there were other people struggling. I realized that actually that I will leave this world and it will still proceed.
mm.
So it came from shame to humbling.
Did it give you some relief though? Because it sounds like you have a lot of pressure on yourself and, like feeling like so much is on you. And so you have to go on for other people. Did that help to have that relief that actually they can move on? And so does that help?
It wasn't easy to come to that place.
Mm,
Coming to that place was just because of the help of the psychologist.
mm,
But at first, I even used to say they should bring for me my laptop and I work
mm,
at hospital. I used to feel like there's no way I'm not in control. There's no
mm,
way things are going on without me. I still used to reply to emails and then someone would be like, but so they told us that you are sick.
mm,
So at first I struggled. I struggle with putting my guard down.
mm,
And because I have also some level of obsession. I
mm,
want things to be done a certain way. So
mm,
I struggled. Of course, it was the help of the therapist to say, you've been here, for example. Your
mm,
kids have still gone to school. When they were not well, someone took them to hospital. This and this has been going on, and you're here.
mm.
It didn't come so easily. It was so hard for me
It sounds
to
so
be
hard.
here
Mm,
to be there and I'm not productive. All I have
mm,
known in my world is to work.
mm,
Dr. Sis, I'm a first child
mm,
of an African woman,
mm,
peasant woman. Hmm?
mm,
All I have known is to work for her, for my siblings, for my family. All I have known is work. And then all of a sudden I'm there and I'm not productive.
mm.
How? There's no way. I am not in control. I am not taking decisions. It wasn't easy.
It sounds so hard. It also sounds like humbling, like you've said. Um, but I think thank you for talking about this because also shame is a feeling that usually grows the more we don't talk about things. It's like you don't talk about it, the shame just gets even more and more.
Mm,
And yet it's not even a personal thing. I feel like, especially that stigma, it's
mm.
society. We internalize the messages from society. Now, like in Uganda, I feel like the stigma is too much. Even just
It's
giving
too
people
much.
uniforms. Do they give physical health patients uniforms?
They don't, maybe like maternity.
Yeah, exactly. So they don't. So I don't know what is that about. That just makes it even worse. It's more othering and
I
saying
think it's
this.
because the patients can easily go home with the caretakers or visitors, maybe. Because I saw that happen. Like some patients would want to escape, like in the night.
Yeah,
So
but
maybe the uniform helps to identify.
I feel like it just makes the stigma worse. Because yeah, even in Butavika they do have uniforms, but it
Mm,
just makes the stigma worse. Although I feel like Butavika is the only place that's justified because my understanding is that they can't admit you without your consent in any other hospital in
mm,
Uganda unless Butavika, like using mental health like act and the law. I don't think it's
mm,
allowed, but I'm sure in Uganda people just do anything. But ideally, you shouldn't be admitting someone against their consent in any
mm,
hospital anyhow.
mm.
So much stigma. So you mentioned your children. What was it like for the wider family? So like for your children, did you tell them? How did you navigate that?
No, my children know.
Mm,
They came to hospital to see me twice.
mm,
So I've had underlying stomach issues.
mm,
I used to struggle with my gallbladder that I took out.
mm,
I had issues with bile. So I've had stomach issues that people know. So in most cases, people, whenever I'm not well, the first thing they'll be like, is it her stomach acting up? So
mm,
probably I'm sure they knew that it was my stomach.
mm,
They came to see me, I think twice,
mm,
and that was it all. The hardest thing in my life was to tell my siblings, oh my God, because all I have known, and again, when you switch it back, it's part of the struggle.
mm,
All I have known is that I have stood up for my siblings,
mm,
I have protected them. To them, even to me, I have never allowed myself to fail.
mm,
Where my mother is not, I am there.
mm,
You can't tell me that it was me who was going to fail and telling them that me, as your eldest sister, this is what I'm going through. It
mm,
was my biggest struggle. I remember I had to wake up like in the night and write a long letter for them.
mm,
I just felt like I was naked
mm,
now
mm.
because to my siblings, I'm a superpower. I'm a
Mm,
superpower that I am.
mm,
Now, I felt so disarmed. It
mm.
was one of the hardest things for me. But when I told them,
How
I
when you
felt
told
relief.
them, and how did they take it?
Uh, of course, they were so shocked, but they are big people. I've actually ever wanted to hear like their side of the story,
Mm,
but they're old, they understand, and most of the things they had noticed. Like my sister is so calm. She's so calm, but she used to find me like excessive. So they used to say that I'm just a ruler. I just rule
mm,
being, and they'd be like, ah, firstborns, you like to rule, eh?
mm,
But she would notice all those things of, for me, when I tell you jump, I mean now. And in a
mm.
minute before you jump, I'm already frustrated. I will jump for myself.
Yeah.
And for her, she's totally opposite. It is
Mm,
okay. So I'm sure they had noticed all those like obsessions, moods, those triggers they had noticed were very understanding.
mm,
My sister completely switched to my caretaker. My
mm,
sister was the most understanding. I've also, I do not know, but I think she had some caretaker burden. I hope she
mm,
has found therapy for herself.
mm,
I don't know, but she literally had to carry me through life. She
mm,
was literally also I used to protect them. I never wanted them to be there and they feel like they are carrying any weight. But now all
mm,
of a sudden she was carrying my weight because now people had to check on her and say, keep an eye on her. Like
mm,
like if she would see me with my whole pack of medication, she'd be like, what are you up to? Do you have to take
mm,
all of it? My sister
mm.
immediately switched into a caretaker.
Yeah.
And I mean, she would be the first recipient of all these terrible moods. So yeah, she has also had really, really, I'm sure she has had it rough with me. But they
Yeah.
were really very supportive. My
And
brother
they
is
were
not around.
supportive. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
but
think
they have really been supportive.
I think to encourage people out there, because in case you're struggling with your mental health and you have similar feelings to DK, where maybe you're worried, and most likely they'll be supportive, but they can only support you if you tell them, because otherwise
Mm,
they, like they can't read your mind. No one can read anyone else's mind.
mm.
And how about your partner? How did that affect your relationship?
Um, my partner, first of all, I didn't tell him immediately.
Mm,
The first week when I was an outpatient, I didn't tell him. But I'm sure he had noticed. He used to tell me, you try to be off the phone. So tell him I'm just struggling with sleep. He knew that I was struggling with sleep. So he would say, you have just so much screen time. It strains your eyes. So you try in the night. So he would turn in the night and say, you're still on the phone. You
mm,
get off the phone. You try to get off the phone. And I would be telling him the phone is the only thing that is keeping me company.
mm.
At this time, I can't sleep. Then for him, he'd be like, you just put it down the sleep book. I'll be like, Tontama. Like, you just, what are you saying? You just have your sleep. You have your sleep. Can't you just leave me alone? Someone is annoying at this point.
Remember that irritability was up here.
The level of irritability. You're like, thank God. The day you hear that he's going for field, work, you're like, thank God. No one is going to police me. I'd be in that bed
Yeah.
watching TikTok at 3 a.m.
By the way, irritability is one of the signs of depression.
Oh my
And
God.
I feel like Africans,
Mm.
we express our mental health, mental distress differently. So an African is not likely to tell you, oh, I'm feeling sad. Oh, I'm feeling down. But you'll find us having more irritability. So I've seen people who will tell them they're depressed, but they don't think so. But everyone around them is telling them how they are so irritable, like their irritability has become.
The level of irritability
Yes,
was too much.
yes.
Actually, one of my biggest, I think that day I was going to start medicine, we were he was supposed to show me two samples of stones, gray and black. We're doing some renovation on the house, and he brought a gray stone and he said, I did bring the black sample. Black is black like that dress you're wearing. I was wearing a black dress. I said, but you brought gray, why didn't you bring black? Said, black is black. I said, what do you mean? I woke up, I didn't talk. The level of irritability. So for me, the first time when I went to the clinic alone to see the psychiatrist, and she told me I'm depressed, and she gave me antidepressant and clonazepam for sleep, I didn't tell him. I just told him it's my medicine for the stomach. He didn't know. But in that process, it's just, I'm like, you just leave me alone. If I don't want to sleep, how is that your business? You just leave me. But he'd be like, you're on the screen a lot. That's the reason you're not sleeping. And then I'll tell him the reason I'm there is because I'm looking for sleep. When I keep awake, I get tired, then I want to sleep. Anyway, we have a family member who is a medical doctor, whom I'm very close to. She's the one I wrote to. I mean, I like writing letters. I wrote to her and I sent her a picture of the medicine that I was taking. That evening, the reason I like her and I really respect her is that because for her, she doesn't see things through the eyes of a parent, of anyone else, like such medical things. She wears her coat of a doctor now. At that point, when she's dealing with you, she's not dealing with you as a relative. She sees that she has the emotions, yes, but how she manages them is activating the doctor in her. So I told her, and she's the most understanding person. So she came home that evening, and of course, she told me, it's like, it's okay, it will be better, just take your medicine. She's actually the one who told my partner. Said, you need to really, you need to get organized. I think she started on medication for different things, not her stomach issues that we all know. So that's how he got to know. But I had not told him. I don't know if I wanted to tell him at some point. I don't know. But at that point, I thought I would get it under control.
It sounds like also that's also internalized stigma, like a stigma of the
Yes.
society.
Of
Now it's internalized.
yeah. But also, when you've lived with someone and you've had how they talk about like mental health, and especially people who have made it on their own, and you hear their views, and I'm like, I don't have that time. First of all, to be asked questions. What if you don't understand? I was like, no. At this point, I was like, I can manage it. But also, one of my biggest struggles, I always feel like I can manage anything on my own. Mm.
It sounds, yeah, it's been coming through a lot. But I
Mm.
guess with time, you're starting to realize that not really. It's okay to have
I
some
realized
help.
that I can't.
Yeah. And I guess coming out of now recovery, your road to recovery, what was it like now that you've, okay, I think it's now 2 years later. How are you feeling
Mm.
in yourself?
I was talking to a friend this week, and I was telling her that the last 4 months, in actual sense, have been the toughest times of, I can't say my life, because you know how each year you say this year was the worst, and then next year is the worst. But I've had the most toughest 4 months, and I did end up on admission, which is rare, because most cases in Feb, I had a small trigger, I was admitted. I was telling her that things never change. What changes is you. You are more equipped, you are more aware, you know how to deal better, how to respond. Where I am today, I can say the same things, moods, or all sorts of things are still there. But what has been different is that it's me. I know my triggers, I know what helps me, but also I have, at first, again, going back to stigma and shame, I used to listen to people who would say, there's no way you can live on medication. Who told you that you live on medication? I don't know what to tell you, but I don't think you can live on medication forever. And also, I mean, or people get sad. You're not the first one who gets sad. People get sad, so you can't live on medication forever. So you would default my medicine. And I mean, you're a doctor. If you default on your drugs, that it means that they won't be effective. They have to try another drug. So I had to, when I dealt with shame, I said, well, I don't think this person would tell someone who is diabetic to stop their medicine.
Mm,
So first of all, I don't default, especially the mood stabilizers. I
mm,
don't default. I today where I am today, I don't take sleep medication
mm,
because I sleep now. Of course, it didn't come immediate. I had to start by tapering the dose
yeah.
down. Now I sleep. I know my struggles. I think the most important is that I know my struggles. I have, and also being open about them.
Mm,
Like I have friends who know me very well, will be in the middle of the situation and she'll come and hold me and know that I know things are going wrong. Now can we go?
mm,
Right now I go to the gym. I have friends who know me.
yeah.
Even in the middle of the workout, I can pause and zone out.
Mm,
She will come and tap me, or she will come and say, "Today you're not okay."
mm,
She will know. I have tried to be consistent with seeing the psychologist.
mm,
So I feel like I am just better equipped.
mm.
Mm,
And in terms of, because we hadn't talked about the diagnosis, but you mentioned mood stabilizers. So I guess that was bipolar, right?
mm,
Yeah. And I think I like the way you've talked about the management, because the management is not only one thing. A lot of
mm,
times we want to look at those biological, which is like medication, and then
mm,
there is psychological, which is like
mm,
the psychologist you're seeing, and then there's also social, so which is the social support that you have. And also, what I love, I told you before we started recording, is that the exercise and exercise in a group setting, because in
mm,
the guidelines for UK management of most mental health conditions, one of the first things that I recommended is exercise, and it's actually group exercise. So being in a
mm,
group does something than being just by yourself.
mm.
Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. If you don't follow DK, follow her on Instagram. She's always showing us how when she's going for her spin class and her various different workouts. I think that's so much better than if you are not doing that as well. Um,
Yeah, I also feel like I would, like I've told you, like the last 4 months have been the hardest. I remember
mm,
there's a time I thought, I don't think I'll make it to September 18th. I'd
mm,
even put a date.
yeah,
But somehow I woke up and it was September 18th,
yeah,
and I was still waking up to go and
mm,
exercise.
yeah,
Because before I would wake up, if I reach work and I have a small inconvenience, I
mm,
would, okay, not even drive back. I would find who will drive me back home. I'll get into my bed. But I've been able to sustain days, go
mm,
to work still. So I feel like if I wasn't exercising, I would be in such a bad place. But
mm,
also, even my weight alone had put me in a cycle of sadness,
mm,
of that whole rotation. I am sad, and me, I'm a very social, emotional eater. I
mm,
don't read books, I don't watch TV. So I am sad, I eat, thinking it will
mm,
make me happy. Then I have temporary happiness. Then the next thing I'm sad. Then the next thing I realize that I'm fat. Then I'm
mm.
sad again. Then I'm in that whole cycle.
Cycle, yeah.
And you know, and then as you also, the other thing that I can never fail to talk about, that's what I was asking you last time, the
Mm,
side effects of the drugs. So
mm,
whereas I was also overweight, I remember in hospital I was in 90s, but this here I wasn't eating a lot at all. My legs were swollen,
mm,
especially when I was taking antipsychotics, specifically
mm,
quatapine. I don't know
mm.
if for you in the UK people are still taking it.
They
You know
are
how,
quetiapine. They are
yes, if I
quetiapine.
don't know if we take bad drugs, that drug did something on me. My legs were swollen,
Yeah.
like the way you is it edema, like when you're pregnant?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Because I had to do kidney tests at some point.
Mm,
My hands were swollen. I could barely move. I was shaking. That was one of the side effects. I could barely hear.
mm,
I accumulated all this weight, and then I would look at myself. This is the drug that is supposed to support my mental health. But
mm.
at the same time, thinking about it makes me more sad. Then stopping it makes me more sad. Then
Yeah.
I'm like, but why can't I just die? For
Yeah.
me, by the way, I would not tell you two sentences without telling you about dying. Like for
Mm,
me, dying just became so easy. I even had a playlist for dying that I'll just play. all
Mm,
the time. All my stories would rotate around dying.
mm,
But now I feel better.
mm.
Do I want to give up on life? Some days I have those thoughts,
Yeah.
but I be like, shank, it seems life is nice. Let me
Mm,
be hanging around and see.
mm.
Working out has really helped me. Doctor, me now, we're on this call. If I put my head like this, I'll doze. I'll sleep off. Me, I have the sleep
You
now.
have sleep.
Now,
Yes.
when I go to bed, oh my God, whoever is there in this world and has sleep, treasure it. The day
Mm,
you don't have it, please go to the hospital. There is a problem.
yes.
When I go to bed now, I sleep. Me, I'm those people you wake now by shaking.
That sounds so nice. I'm so happy for you. I think you've mentioned so many important things. Yes, sleep. If like one of the first things I ask every single person I see, sleep. How is your sleep?
Mm,
Because sleep is one of those signs of so many things. And if you're not sleeping, it's so bad. Sleep appetite. Either appetite
mm,
will go down or sometimes it will go up. And
mm,
um and also, I think I like that you mentioned how it's an ongoing struggle. It's not that you reach a point where now you're perfect. Like you have to remember that with mental health or all health, it's like a kind of an
mm,
ongoing struggle that you are probably struggling even before, but you're just not calling it mental health. But now that you're more aware of
mm,
it, um, like it's kind of continuous. Every day is
mm,
different. Once in a while, there'll be a part of you that feels like it's not worth living. Why is it there? Like maybe just give up.
mm,
But then there's another part of you that wants to live, that sees the goodness in life. And so, as long
mm.
as you continue like that and doing all your things, I think, yeah, you're on the right track.
Yeah,
You're
yeah. Also, the other thing that
mm,
I thought we would talk about is that people need to know that depression and mental illness have the cutest smiles.
mm,
So one of the things that I learned and appreciated, I had people who would tell me, "But you have it all. What is all? I don't know
mm,
what people think is all." Actually, I have learned that the most people that have it all don't have it. Actually, when you think that they have it all, they have nothing. There's
mm,
emptiness that mental illness creates in your heart. I remember when I'd be going through assessments with the doctors, they'll say, "So you don't think about your children? You don't think about them. You think about them, but
well, they would
you
ask you
don't."
that you don't think about your children. That sounds very harsh.
No, 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 no. The doctor would tell me much later and
Mm,
say, for most women,
mm,
they usually say, "I would have taken my life, but my kids."
mm,
How would they say? So the doctor will be like, "DK, what do you think of your kids?"
mm,
I tell him, my kids will be kawa. They'll be
mm.
kawa. They'll be okay. You just don't worry about them. So it
Mm,
was like in that context.
mm,
So people usually say, but you have a good job. That's why
mm,
we see these high-ranking celebrities, professionals end up taking their lives because first of all, the world expects them to
yes.
be a certain way. They see that they have it all. You actually also live under that, but
Yeah.
while you're sinking,
Yeah.
no one believes you. I mean, you have all sorts of people who say, and me, I'm such a high achiever, and people around me know that it's me who brings joy to others. So people will tell me, but DK, it's you who is always helping all of us, so you
Mm,
can't break down. So now
mm,
who will be there for us? You
mm,
know? So people need to know that depression has no class.
yeah.
Mental illness, actually, even on all
All
mental
together.
illnesses,
Yeah.
they have no social class,
Mm,
whether you are a celebrity, whether you are a peasant back in my village, whether you are a businesswoman, whether you are anyone who carries a brain will be sick.
definitely. And
Uh,
I
yeah,
think it makes it harder for people to seek help because they feel like depression has a certain look. And so I don't fit that look. So I can't
yes.
be depressed. And so you keep pushing yourself.
And you keep thinking hard until you crash
Mm. And
because you're like, there's no way I can tell anyone.
And depression is the most common mental illness, I think, in the world. Yeah. And it's the leading cause of, I think, it's called morbidity, something like that,
Mm,
according to WHO in the world. So I don't know if if you
mm,
haven't had depression. I think I've had depression myself, but for me, this is self-diagnosis in the past. When I was a child, even when I look
mm,
back and I'm like, yeah, I must have been depressed.
mm,
Um,
mm.
yeah, so I feel like if you haven't had depression, maybe you're just not old enough. Maybe
Mm.
you're still young. It's just a matter
Your
of
time is
time.
coming. Mm.
Yes, but also at the same time, depression
Mm.
is like it's like our A plus student in psychiatry. It's the one that we don't
Mm.
treat the best. So actually, if you
Mm.
ever need mental health, like if you need support, like depression gets better. In fact, if you do
Mm.
nothing, depression also can get better to like it burns out. So if you think back in your life, there'll
Mm.
be a moment when you were depressed. So for me, I remember, well, you're just depressed. You wake up, life just has no meaning. The food doesn't taste good.
Mm.
Color has lost, like it looks like the world is gray kind of thing. I talked
Mm.
about this with my sister in her depression, in her video postpartum, of her experience
Mm.
and our experience of how we thought we were depressed. But with time, it can go. But then what if it doesn't? That's why
Mm.
you want to be aware that maybe you can seek help, and maybe it goes even
Mm.
faster.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So thank you so much for that. And anything else you wanted to share with the people out there, if someone is out there and they feel like you've also described them, what would you advise them to do?
One of the things that I tell anyone, even when they come to me and ask me, I say, I'll share with you my experience for you to feel supported. Because for me, one of the things I gained from people who shared their experiences with me, I never felt alone. But
Mm,
please, the advice I'll tell anyone, if you notice anything strange in your life, seek, the word is professional support. Please leave your relatives. They will be the most toxic. They will be the most judgmental people. But you're going to tell your trusted auntie what. They're the ones who will go around telling everyone about you.
mm,
Me, Dr. Sisi,
mm,
you were probably amongst the first 5 people that knew about my sickness. Then even my family, do you know why?
mm,
Because of holding you in a high regard as a doctor. The thing I tell people, go and seek professional support. That's what they studied. They understand. When you tell them that you feel worthless, for them, they understand.
mm,
Your partner, your sister, your brother, they will say, you feel worthless. Yesterday was just your birthday. You're saying you feel worthless. What do you mean? You
mm,
just bought new earrings.
mm.
You just, how? And that is the worst thing you need to hear on when you haven't made progress. The advice I would tell anyone, it's good to have this support. Social support is important,
Yeah,
but it should be secondary to finding professional support.
yeah. And also, something else I was going to ask is, did you have people suggesting like to go to faith leaders, for example, to pray for you?
A lot, a lot. And that's
And
why I tell people, unless you're ready, unless you've moved, and that is when
yeah,
you've moved past certain stages, you
yeah,
don't owe anyone your
yeah,
story.
yeah,
You don't. They're
yeah.
going to tell you, drink this, go to faith leaders, this thing, it's turning into spiritual. And you actually,
Mm,
even your mind will conceive it. That's how
mm,
people abandon medication.
mm,
I'm telling you, one of the reasons I struggled and I had relapses was that
mm,
I would immediately stop my medication
mm,
because I had the people who were in my ear day in, day out
mm,
of how are you going to survive forever on medication?
mm,
It's not even possible. It's not even right. Who even said, even them? Like, why are you just going to sit to tell someone how you're feeling? Oh, me, all my problems, I take them to people who studied.
mm.
Me,
That's
I respect professionals.
mm.
They studied the mind, they understand it.
And it's what we
These
do
other
every
things,
day.
hmm,
Mm.
hmm,
It's what we do every day because, like, every single day you're seeing someone with depression, psychosis, bipolar, every
hmm,
single day. So I feel
hmm,
like we do have some understanding about it, but also you can work together because now for us in our hospitals, we have chaplains that come in, religious leaders. So I think it helps because at least you see that we can work together. You can also pray, and also
hmm,
God also made people and he I feel like it
hmm,
can go hand in hand, not necessarily always
hmm,
alternative. Because like for me, my cousin, obviously
hmm,
she was 16 and they said they took her for prayers instead, and I took her to a
hmm,
psychiatrist. But then after that,
hmm.
they took her instead to, I think, religious leaders. But you know, they always do. They did, I think they did pastors, but then also they also go into traditional healers as well.
Mm,
So it's a bit sad. I think it becomes sad. People find it harder to seek help. There's all that
mm,
pressure to, I don't know.
mm. I
But
think also importantly, we need to tell people that seeking help is not weakness. The
yeah.
same way you we go to hospital when you be there and you suspect that you're pregnant, guy, you can run to hospital. You suspect that that energy, that's the same energy we need to use. If you notice something is
Yeah.
not right with your brain,
Yes.
with how things are going, the
Yes.
same way. And for me, when I reached that level, it released me. Yeah, like when I would be going to hospital, I would not want to go directly to APU. I would first
Mm,
go to the main hospital so that if anyone meets me, they feel like I've come to the main hospital. No,
mm,
if you meet me, I'll be like, no, Thursday. People who know me, they know that Thursday are my hospital days.
mm,
I have to be at hospital. Who am I going to see? My psychiatrist or my psychologist. That's all.
mm.
And the more we talk about it, the less the stigma, the more people
Yeah.
will get help.
And also something else you said earlier on, I think is important that you knew there was something not right. So even
Mm,
me, I knew I had PTSD, and I shared in my another video on my channel if you haven't checked it out,
mm,
that I
mm,
knew I could just feel it that there's something not okay. But you just
mm,
don't have the courage, I think, to ask someone else. Please get out of yourself and go
mm,
and ask someone else. Go and ask a
mm,
professional. Because even me, when I felt that, I feel like, is this normal? Am I normal? I went and I saw a professional.
mm,
I referred myself and I saw a doctor and ask someone else. Let someone else be the one to make that decision. What do they think? Because you can
mm,
self-diagnose yourself, all kinds of things. So anyway, thanks so much,
mm.
DK. I think we should end that there. Any final comments?
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the constant sharings. They really go such a long way. I think as a generation, I keep saying as a generation, we've been educated, but we haven't studied. I don't know how I wish I would say it in my local language.
You
We
say
need to onomanya kukuza ekyemerero tukuzire twakura konka tukwetegereza because we are the same people who shame our friends. We hold PhDs and masters. I'm a procurement specialist, but we are the same people who shame our colleagues. We are not any different from people who didn't go to school in the villages, who used to say "Ngunanka kashara." We are not any different from people who used to label others. I feel like we've been exposed, we've been helped that our parents took us to school and we studied. We can't be studying things in the books only. We need to be open-minded and understand these things. That's the only way we are going to beat stigma and against all diseases. But of course, most so I keep saying mental health is still treated like a stepchild,
yes.
even for policymakers. You know, if we don't get all this awareness and our voices out there, we will keep losing more people
More
that wouldn't
people.
have lost.
Yeah, and that's so in Uganda, it's getting worse. It looks like it's getting worse. Every
It
mental health
is.
news I hear.
Mm.
Um, so
Mm.
so anyway, thank you. Let's end on a positive
Thank you,
note.
Doctor.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and for doing your
Mm.
part to help us move in the right direction as a country. So thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Cheers, and thank you for having me. Bye.